with the Texas Tigers, and Jay Davis down there with the Pleasant Grove Hawks and Texas A&M Texarkana.
And Buddy did not show up. No call, no show.
No, well, he
got fired.
He did message me at 5:50 and said he wasn't going to make it.
Okay.
He's got a full day at work.
He was still up.
I think they had an audit today.
He said no. He didn't have an audit because remember, that's what he tried to use that bull last time.
Well, you know, they must have some really shady stuff going on out there at the depot. To get
Lots of
all
audits.
Listen, they they employ a lot of people, so I'm here for the shady stuff, I guess. We'll let it slide.
Well, how about your Lobos last week, Morgan?
There goes a rookie move down there from Jay. Man, how about them Lobos? Y'all get a chance to watch any of that?
I
I
did.
watched a little bit, yeah.
Hey, listen,
Unbelievable.
I got caught coming in with someone I recognized. Didn't know how I recognized them or where from. But the lady's like, "Hey, can I interview you?" And I'm like, "Golly, I'm gonna have to get on here and
Yeah.
Because I don't think anybody showed up. As a Lobo fan, you're like hoping, but man, that's a stacked team.
So as well as they played, were they truly an underdog in that game?
All right, so listen. I get on there, and I'm like, oh, yeah, weather, blah, blah, 28-27 Lobos.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. With 3 minutes into the football game, undoubtedly Longview was the better football team. I could not believe it. How this team was so highly ranked nationally and all that. Longview, we always know, oh, man, they're a good football team. But you look at, the 22 team, last year's team. This is supposed to be, a building year for Longview. It's crazy to me. And, Boosie went almost 300 yards in a fourth-round playoff game against a nationally ranked opponent with 9 Division I players on the team.
Dominated.
And got a 45-yard in the first half called back?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Could not believe what I was seeing. I left there thinking two things. Longview could win the state championship, obviously, and two, who on earth? It's like Wimberley. It's like DeSoto's the Wimberley of the national rankings. Couldn't believe it.
Does DeSoto throw the ball a lot?
Well, keep in mind, I don't know a whole lot on that, but I don't think it would have mattered. Their offensive line looked like a college offensive line out there, and then I didn't watch them get off the bus, but watching them stand on the other end of the field compared to Longview, you're like, oh my God.
Billy, something that I noticed. Do you remember Auburn in 2002 when we went down there and Fred Talley ran for 280 yards?
Yeah, yeah.
Seeing number 20 go through that line over and over and over and over.
Just look.
He looks like Fred Talley. Of course, Fred Talley's from Longview also, but he wears
may be
number
related.
20. They look alike. They run alike. They're similar size. But it was just hand the ball to him, explosive play. Hand the ball to him, explosive play, over and over and over.
Yeah, the offensive line at Longview to go along with what Boosie's been able to do is unbelievable. The offensive line plays great. They're starting a sophomore at quarterback.
Wow.
And that's kind of you look at Longview when they get in the playoffs. They have 5 or 6 turnovers in the Week 1 playoff game against the 4 seed. They play Lancaster, I believe, in the second or third round. And truth be told, if y'all watched that game, they really should have lost that game. They got lucky late. They were down. They come back. They send it into overtime, had some luck fall their way, and they win. Then they beat another fourth-place team. And here's DeSoto. And, man, dude, they dominated DeSoto. Dominate everything I sat here and said last week about, man, I'm just not picking Texas over Georgia because Georgia dominated them in every way you can dominate somebody. That's exactly what Longview did to DeSoto. It's a real thing, East Texas ball compared to some of this DFW ball we're seeing. And I'm not saying some DFW team like Duncanville would probably give Longview the business. But it makes me question what I thought I know now.
So is this the greatest upset in Longview history?
All right, yes. I've went back and looked. I've talked to some old heads. We cannot come up with a bigger upset than this. What was the line on that game?
I want to say they were 6-point underdog.
Only 6 points? See, I was told it was as high as 30 at some places. And
I'll go back and look.
And in my head, I was like, well, Longview's going to run the ball. They can shorten this game up. But we just cannot come up with a bigger upset than this. And I would love to sit here and be like, oh, like just sit here and the greatest upset, blah, blah. But it wasn't close, man. They dominated. Absolutely dominated that team.
There was not sustained drives. They just hand the ball off, explosive play,
It had to be fun.
explosive play.
Other than weather, it had to be fun to be there and just watch it. And,
See, I like the weather like
Yeah,
that, though. Like,
yeah.
you're going to get some of the coolest
well,
stuff you're going to get in
as
weather.
long as you're prepared for it.
Yeah.
What kind of crowd did they have down there?
No, wasn't no crowd.
Nobody came.
I mean, it didn't look like it.
Was it supposed to rain? I mean, yeah. So
Yeah,
Of course,
so
it's a big monster stadium too. So.
well, nobody was like sitting in the stands. They were all like under. It was
the-
raining hard for a while, and it was nasty the entire time. But they were all kind of under the awning. DeSoto brought nobody.
Wow.
When I mean nobody, I bet you outside of there might not have been nobody there that wasn't friends or family.
they brought nobody, and the nobody they brought probably left by halftime.
Well,
Yeah.
you saw a lot of that in the P&G SOC game. They showed the P&G stands at Stephen F. Austin. And here's the deal. They're about the same size on both sides, so it's not like there was a discrepancy there. P&G had it packed out.
Hey,
and there was nobody from SOC there.
P&G travels, boy. They travel well, for sure.
Well, how does it win like this? Because, I mean, their quarterback's a sophomore, and you pull off a win like this, and we go back to, the early days of Gibson getting into the state championship playoffs. You start giving teams like the Lobos with a sophomore quarterback these extra weeks. Not only are they going to be impactful there's a good chance that
Hey, listen,
they're bringing it all.
I'm getting Gilmer vibes. Last year, like this may be Longview's year. I mean, I still there's some times where you're like, man, you leave a championship on the table and you know it. That 22 losing to Alito in the rain up there in DFW when you were up 14 points at one point, like that like still stings, still hurts. And this team, like moving up to 6A, like everything's like how would this be possible? And it's like just great coaching. And like Coach King said the other day, he said, man, there's nothing like growing up playing ball with your homeboys. And I don't know that they played a team that could relate to that statement. I mean, like all these kids grew up together. There's no like, go look at this. There's no like move in that's came in and made a big impact or anything like that. Like these kids grew up together. They played football together since they were kids. It means something to put the rock and L on the side of the helmet. Coach King's one of those legendary coaches. They're going to be telling their grandkids that they got to play for. He'll be in the Hall of Fame at some point in Texas. And it's just like, man.
I thought the coolest part about all of it was the post-game interview with Coach King and listening to him talk, because he was like a kid in a candy store. He's usually that one that comes off a little rough, a little, old school or whatever, but it was like, he was excited. He was more proud of those kids the way they went out and went out and dominated, and man, you could just tell. It kind of gives me a little bit of chicken skin just thinking about watching that.
Y'all remember the interview from a few weeks back where he hit him with the "How you like me now" kind of thing?
Yeah.
It's just like, how about this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Deck stacked against you, moving up to 5A Division 1 to 6A, which the competition. There's a big deal. There's smallest 6A school in the state of Texas. Here they are down to the Final Four. I mean, after I left the stadium that night, and I think they played Ruston earlier on this year, like I didn't foresee this.
When you go back to the comment that you made as far as, each of them playing with each other for so long, sometime in this season, and it could have been even as far back as this summer, they probably knew internally they had something special going on. And with a coach like that, you starting to be able to coach up also that it's us against the world. That's one more way for you to be able to get up.
I just don't know, man. I tell you, I went and watched Texas High in just a scrimmage, and in a scrimmage you can't, people aren't doing a lot of things, using, they're not trying to win. They're going out there trying to get better. And I thought Texas High just kind of dominated Longview, and so I don't think that they even thought. And I think that's why Coach King was so giddy. Is I think this team is gelled. I think this team has done everything that they could do in order to be right here. But I don't think that they really believed But that's that's my opinion. But I just don't think that they thought that a team like that 6-7 weeks ago. But let me tell you something right now. They believe now. If they didn't, they believe now.
Well, you go knock off one of the Blue Bloods and beat them by 36.
Yeah.
I mean, you've made a statement. Everybody's got their eyes on you, and you've arrived. I mean, if you're going to beat DeSoto like that, there's really no reason why you couldn't say Longview's a favorite to go ahead and win this thing.
Yeah, I mean, Longview are playing South Lake Carroll. I don't know a ton about South Lake Carroll because I've never had a team that even could play South Lake Carroll. So. But it looks like they're pretty proficient passing the ball.
Well, on paper, DeSoto's a better team than South Lake Carroll.
Yeah, so Longview played a complete game. But you look at the South Lake Carroll game, historically, Longview's played for some state championships under the King era, and they've got down there. They played Lake Travis, maybe in Austin Lester. Maybe it was just Lake Travis 3 years in a row, if I believe, down in Waco for the state championship. And they struggle with these teams that can really pass the ball. But there's something about this Longview team. Like, I just, after leaving the other night, if they play like they played the other night, they're going to win the state championship. It doesn't matter who's playing on the other side. This linebacker core, I mean, they combined for like 40-something tackles in that game. The defensive line, if y'all could have seen the size difference in person from the offensive line of DeSoto to the defensive line of Longview and vice versa,
Longview was a smaller team.
You'd have been like, oh, my God. They're about to get dominated. And they just couldn't do anything. I mean, like, these Longview kids, it didn't matter. Like, they weren't falling on the ground, chopping, let's just make a big wall at the line of scrimmage and make everybody – none of that, dude. They were just beating their butt. It was crazy, man.
Hitting them in the mouth.
Yep, Longview football.
Well, you want to move on down to the next one?
Well, so they're playing at SMU Saturday, 2 p.m. 2 p.m. Man, I'm going to have – something special for me. My dad and I used to we used to follow Longview Lobos everywhere. I mean, like, literally everywhere. My son's a big Lobo fan. He was with me at the game the other night. My dad's going to drive up from Houston.
Cool.
He's going to come. He lives in Longview, but he's going to be in Houston.
Y'all got sideline passes and all
Yeah,
that?
yeah. So get 3 generations of
Nice.
Lobo fans there. It'd be
be fun.
Big deal to me. I don't get to do a whole lot with my dad. He's getting older, but it's a fun time. Taking my son Friday. We're going to go to see Jackson at Dude Perfect, which,
Oh, cool.
we'll get to check that out.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't know what all's going on there, but,
Yeah.
he's super excited about it.
Oh,
So,
I bet.
might even go watch, or I'm probably going to go watch Highland Park and Argyle play in the Star. Yeah.
Wow.
That'd be a good game to go watch.
It's a fun weekend of football right there.
Oh, man. Yeah, hey, and if Longview pulls off this W, it's going to be insane next week, man. Insane. I've told y'all before, there's like nothing I would want more than a Longview Lobos state championship ring or something, man. Like, it means something different. I just really thought we would have had one in 22. I didn't foresee this kind of success. It's obviously earned, not given, and still not earned yet. But
We know, looking at Boosie, he's only got 2 offers right now, Stephen F. Austin and Lamar. Why is he not getting more looks with what he's got to offer?
I was talking with a sports agent that I do some work with, and he's from Longview, and we were talking about Boosie, and it's like, man, how does this happen? And in the world of portal, if you really want to get into it,
Right.
the portal's never had more kids in it than it does now. These colleges knew,
Projecting 2,000.
yeah, so the colleges knew a roster limit was coming. They didn't know what the roster limit was going to be, and they still kind of don't know how many scholarship players.
105?
I've heard 101, 105, anywhere from 85 to 91 scholarship players. So you're sitting out there, and you got all these college players, and then you have high school running back like Boots, which doesn't jump off. He's not 6'1". He probably doesn't run a 4.3. I mean, I'm sure he's fast, but he's probably doesn't jump off the page at that. He's probably not unbelievably there's probably nothing when you're flipping through profiles or whatever.
What I tell people is you can in the portal you can find 30 of him with experience that are 4 to 5 years older than him. I mean, it's just a different world.
Where 5 to 7 years ago, he's already got the Louisiana Tech's SMU.
And what I was telling him on Chuck's show yesterday is I said, hey, look, go somewhere right away that you can play. Because if you go somewhere that you don't used to, you could go and develop somewhere. You could go to Texas and sit for 2 years and then maybe get on the field or whatever. Now, if you go somewhere like Texas and don't play that first year, then they're going to have 20 more the next year that you're going to have to, and then 20 more the next. It's just go somewhere and play, and then you can move up to a better school or something like that. That's when someone called in about Javari Johnson asking why he was going to Stephen F. They thought he could go somewhere bigger, and I said, look. You go somewhere where you can play. You go somewhere you can fit in. You go somewhere where the coaching staff, is
you don't want to be the fourth or fifth option for freshmen or not. But in Boosie's scenario, listen, he broke Fred Talley's rushing record. He's broken Taylor Tatum's rushing and touchdown record. He is about to he'll break. Excuse me. If he scores a touchdown this week, he'll break Taylor Tatum's touchdown record. So we're talking 134 years of football over there, and this is, all these records have been broken in a 3-year span. Well, much about Taylor Tatum, who we know plays at Oklahoma, was the number 1 running back in the country, and then you have Boosie here. And, Frank told me, hey, Boosie's gonna be the dude this year, and to see what all
someone said an Oregon type running back.
Yeah, I mean, he's explosive, but recruiting has changed so much. And I keep thinking, the portal's going to reset itself. So, at some point, okay, it's going to be back to your high school kids, and then maybe just the class above them. They're moving around a little bit, but you still have your core group of high school kids that are coming in, and it's just they keep making changes that makes it not reset. First, it was COVID, so you have 5th and 6th year players, so there isn't as many scholarships to go around for these high school kids. So they're kind of, your average Division II, Division III kid. We're talking kids that are paying to play football. Were scholarship players in years past. And then now with what they just did, it's we might be 4 years behind, where we might see 8 to 10 kids in our area signed to play college football. It might go down to 3 or 4 true signs, not I'm signing to go be a walk-on.
I talked to Coach Stanford the other night, and he was like, man, typically by now hundreds of college coaches would have been through here, and he said it's few and far between.
Hey, you want to cut budgets and put money in NIL, the things that are going to get you players, don't travel.
Yeah.
And that cuts a big chunk of it out. So it's really unfortunate, and I get asked all the time, what's the easiest way for my kid to get recruited? I don't have a good answer anymore. There is no good answer, and there's no right answer because
it's all being
written. All these kids that were 3-stars that were getting to go to Arkansas, to Texas Tech, to all that, those same kids now are pushed down to the SFA, Northwestern State level. So all those kids that were at the Northwestern State SFA level, they're now pushed down to possibly junior college or Division II.
Yeah.
And it's just a vicious cycle that's not going to correct itself
anytime soon.
anytime
And for everything we don't like about it, there are some positives. All right, you look at Clayton Smith. Things didn't go his way in Oklahoma, in my opinion. It's Oklahoma coaching staff's issue. It's just my opinion. I just don't care for the way he was treated there. He didn't do anything to deserve that, but it shows you how ruthless college football can be. Hey, Clayton Smith's a player. All right? He's at Arizona State, just won a Big 12 championship Saturday.
Team captain.
And that team was picked dead last in conference. Clayton told me they were going to be good, and in my head I was like, okay. We literally had this conversation. I was like, he didn't want to talk bad about his team. Okay, I get it. But look at the turnaround they've made. That doesn't happen if the portal doesn't exist.
That's true.
Oklahoma's going to have to figure something out. Oklahoma cannot. They're complaining. Oh, we don't have the money that Texas has, or this or that. How are we going to compete?
Well, then go find it.
I don't know if y'all have been on the message board and seen all that. But Oklahoma's crying about it. They can't walk into Texas and get kids anymore because now it really is an even playing field. SMU can offer you money, which I don't know if y'all have noticed, but they raised $140 million.
Crazy.
NIL deal after a $100 million buyout to get into the ACC. Think how crazy that is. Don't let SMU put this money into play.
They're going to be a problem for some time because they've got the money to compete with. They may not have Texas money, but they're in that top 15 money.
I don't know if they don't have Texas money. If they're willing, it's all about who's willing to give. and their fan base is willing to give. I mean,
I don't think you're going to see in college football.
hey man, Donnie Reed's watching. What's up, Donnie?
In college sports is I don't think you're going to see any more teams that are the dominant team, like let's say Alabama was just dominant. I don't think you're going to see that. You're going to always have top teams and teams that are better than others that sustain, but you're going to see, a lot of these kids that, let's just say, back years ago would have gone to Alabama, 5 to 10 of the best. Now they're going to be getting picked off by an SMU, by a BYU. BYU got the best basketball player the other day.
Did you see what they paid him?
Uh-uh.
They paid him $7 million for 1 year, and there's only 6 lottery picks that will make more money this year in the structure than he will make at BYU.
But you think about how much money that's going to make for the university, because everybody's going to watch him over there. I mean, you look at Caitlin Clark. Everybody watched.
Oh, they'll make that back, and the thing is,
I mean, I have a serious question.
all that money's coming from the Jazz owner anyway. The university's the one's going to reap it. They're going to reap all this money because they did not. None of that money comes out of their pocket.
Yeah.
Serious question. Where was all this money going before?
Yeah.
That if you all of a sudden found the money for all this, where was this money going before?
Well, you remember the Trans A&M.
Well, here's what I think. I think you're going to see a lot less buildings on campuses and, going up. These people that they were going to getting all this money to build new buildings and new facilities. I mean, it's going to be tougher on athletic directors too, of saying, hey, now we need this new $200 million basketball arena, but we just asked you to spend $10 million on getting players, and so I think it's going to be tough on ADs.
And it'll be interesting how the stream maintains itself, because you talk about the buildings, those are one-time gifts. So if you start going out there and you've got these families and corporations that are wanting to give, those are going to be some one-time gifts. Universities and the NIL, coffers, they're going to have to go and find those folks every year to maintain, these payrolls.
And we're living in a world where, I know Oregon went undefeated this year, but I don't know that outside of a random Oregon team that we're ever seeing an undefeated college football team again.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing when you look at like the sports landscape, like the NFL is like top tier, like, all right, like not falling off the side of the mountain, they're there. But if they actually do pull together a separate college football, like, hey, we're done with the NCAA. We don't like they're at this point, man, it's like hiring me to be in control of college football. Like, I think I can make better decisions than what I'm seeing. So I don't understand, if it's not about money or greed, how do you continue to make the wrong decisions over and over and over? And when you're like, oh, we got it right, everybody knows you're wrong. Like, I don't understand why this organization still holds any power in college football. But let the SEC branch off, add Notre Dame, add USC. Let's say, for right now, for name's sake, let's add a Colorado, a Pitt. Add the big names all in one and say, you know what? We're not playing anybody else. We're going to have 30 teams in here. We're only playing each other. Now let's go get our own TV revenue deal. That would be the biggest thing overnight. The NFL would have problems.
Here's what I think is, I think the NCAA, they've always been we're not bending. System ain't broke. We're not bending. We're making all the money, whatever. But I think the SEC and all these Power Fives started strong arming. So now you're seeing NIL. So now you're seeing college football playoff with all the. I think they're having to give up all their power because they see that it could just go. But I think you're right. I think in the next 5 years something's.
My anytime I get a new client, and let's say it's a big company and they're going to pay good money, if I go in and 12 people all have to vote on anything I do, deep down I'm going to do it, but deep down I know this isn't lasting long. Because if 12 people have to go in, and y'all know how this goes. If you have, I know we all have experience with it. You can have the perfect plan. You can have 10 people go in a line. Oh yeah, it's fine. You can get to that 11. Oh, somebody's got to be the person that's like, I told you so. Like, somebody's going to come up with something. Well, the reason why we shouldn't do this, why we shouldn't do that. And my point of making all this is, you can go to one specific instance where you're like, okay, we need to do something different. And it all goes back to when they gave that guy the medal over the girl who had the exact same time in swimming. I don't know if y'all remember that.
Yeah.
I can't remember the guy or girl's name.
And they actually asked her to give
Yes.
it up to him for the photo ops.
Yeah, they said, hey, y'all tied. We only have one medal. You're going to have to, like Leah, I think was her
You
his
talking
her
about
name.
you talking about the Penn University,
I don't remember
swimmer?
exactly. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
the
that was it.
transgender swimmer?
I think that was it.
Yeah.
Like you go
Leah
back.
Thomason.
Yes, you go back to one moment, and you like. That is the worst decision you can make in that moment, and they admitted to doing it for a photo op. We got to see something different, man. We got to, and if you get 30, 40, because at some point, it's like there's going to be a huge we know there's a difference between
Well, I was
Texas El Paso, one down in say UTSA, North Texas. There's a huge gap financially. There just is. Okay, take the SEC schools right now. Add Miami, add Clemson, take just the big names, own thing. Let everybody else do whatever they want to do. Only play each other, keep all the money in-house, and then that would be quite possibly the biggest thing financially. They would be making more money than NFL teams.
Well, I read an article.
And that can happen very easily because they have
think-
like all it takes is just getting rid of the inside. Like, hey, they don't need them anymore. That's the thing. Like,
You already got the networks.
Yeah.
Already,
So you talk about going back and you going to one thing that changed something. The thing that I think that has changed, and this came out yesterday, that is going to make a university relevant, is Belichick going to North Carolina, and he's already put it out there that if you want to play in the NFL, you come play for me.
well, that's a
You
great
know,
selling point.
yeah.
But that don't pay the bills. And
But Belichick's going to have access to funds coming into North Carolina to build their NIL up.
Well, but I said that to Chuck yesterday, and he's like, "Well, because I said, he knows what the pros want, and he's out there, he's going to be able to recruit." And he said, "Yeah, but is he really? I mean, has he developed
Hey, Donna, can I get
people,
water?
to develop college athletes?" And I said, "Well, no, not yet." And I was like, the money's, the Brady's, those people are going to be. And he said, "Well, I don't know if Brady, really likes him." And so he kind of was skeptic on.
I'll
it.
make a prediction.
Yeah.
3 years, it's over with.
You think so?
You talking about with Belichick at UNC?
If grown men hated him, didn't want to play for him, what do you think some college kids with an open portal are about to do?
But I will.
If I knew all I had to do is go give him my all for 2 years or 3 years,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden I can start making millions.
Yeah.
Everybody, first, the thing is now is he ain't nothing special. Everybody can do that.
Yeah, but it's the connections. It's his
Well,
connections.
if UNC can raise money, he'll have success.
Ain't
If they
nobody,
can't, he's not going to.
Nobody's drafting you because you played for Belichick. That's it. I mean, like, if you're not the best player, they're going to go with the best player. Like, I find that notion hard to believe. And if it is believable, I don't understand why you would take a UNC player just because he played for a certain coach versus a Texas player because he played for Sark. He's not a likable person. I mean,
I will
NFL,
tell you this is the interview that I listened to him on the radio 2 days ago. It did not even sound like him. It was a one-on-one, and he was. I've never heard him. The way he treats the media, and he's short and whatever. I knew that he was going to be hired because he was already in a recruiting mode.
was selling.
He was already selling, and he was without talking to kids. He was saying, "Hey, look, I know what the pros want. I know how I can develop you into exactly what they want. That's what I can bring to the table."
Here's my thing: if Mac Brown couldn't make it there, Belichick's not going to make it there. I don't personally believe he's one of the greatest coaches of all times. I think he had the greatest player of all time, and he benefited from it. He put in the work, and he won some championships. He's done nothing.
Here's another
Nothing
thing
without that guy playing quarterback.
You got to look at Morgan. UNC, they like the publicity. They like the splash. They like people like us and everybody else across the country talking about them. They don't really give two squats if he wins big there or not. It's more of getting publicity and getting money.
Well, they got rid of Mac Brown, in my opinion, for no real good reason. It's like that they're trying to be something they're not. Like, your football program is never ever going to match your basketball program.
Well,
which isn't great right
I thought
now.
they
anyway.
overachieved
They,
a lot.
they let
Yeah.
they let Butch Jones go a long time and be very average. The first time Mac Brown was there, he was very average. He come back. They've got
they-
a long ropes.
They
what I'm
don't
saying.
ever go out. I mean, those three. They don't go out and get the new up and comer. They don't go out and get the young. I mean, they've
They
got,
gonna go get
that's-
that
that's
retread,
three,
aren't they?
That's three retread, old school. You know, some of them been out of coaching. You know, Mac wasn't.
Mac's
in
like
coaching.
86 years old, isn't he? He's in the 70s anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I like Mac Brown. I don't like to see anybody fired for, in my opinion, not a real good reason.
But man, nowadays it's a.
But that's a hard sell, man. Like,
Well, a
you
lot
come
of-
in, it's Bill Belichick. That don't mean. It don't mean anything.
Something that
to a 16-year-old, 17-year-old kid that you coach the New England Patriots.
something that
Like-
Mac and the UNC brass had a problem with is Mac's kind of like Mike Gundy. He wasn't really on board with really going out and promoting this NIL. He was going to win his way or lose his way, and they wanted to be a little more progressive. But that's a lot of the reason he got let go is because he didn't give two squats about it.
Yeah.
A lot like
Anyway,
Mike Gundy.
Shout out to Clayton Smith.
Yeah, absolutely.
I went to the Longview game, but I had two different photographers at the Big 12 championship game. Wanted to be sure we captured some moments for Clayton, and we did that. And,
Yeah.
man, right off the bat, had a knockdown first play of the game. You know,
And also, speaking of playoff teams, how about Marcus Burris and Indiana Hoosiers?
Yeah.
yeah.
man, I talk to Marcus about every other week, and another portal. Like Indiana had 3 returning, not starters, just players on defense.
Oh, they brought the whole team from James Madison up there.
Yeah, and it's nuts. I'm really curious to see before we get off college what's about to happen when Marshall and Southern Miss.
They say they said that the entire team is going to enter the portal, and 85% of them will go to Hattiesburg with him.
Wow.
And the irony is, Marshall's at the top of Conference USA, and USM is coming off a 2-10, 0-8 in the conference.
I'm like wondering.
They had to throw a bunch of money at the guy
Well, he got fired.
for winning the conference championship.
Yeah, like I like. How does that
know. I
happen?
didn't see that.
In my head, like, well, what? Like,
I did not know he got
the
fired.
businessman part of me is like, well, what did he do? And if you say, oh, you didn't fire him, but you let him go to Southern Miss, why wouldn't you just pay it? Like, what's going on here?
I didn't know he got fired, but that
Well,
because
I mean,
it
hey,
made
will
no
you fact
sense.
check me?
It
If you don't
made no
mind.
sense because you just win the conference championship, but you're going to go to the bottom feeder.
There's got to be, like, I feel like there's got to be something more, but I don't know what it would be.
Oh, and Billy, before we get off the college, finally did a little research on our Saracen situation.
Okay.
Oaklawn threw their arm out on the table and blocked that thing. So Oaklawn cost us millions because of politics in the state of Arkansas.
And Oaklawn gives hardly anything.
Hardly nothing.
It's a whole nother.
What happened?
And you talk about a
I'll
game
send it
changer.
to you.
You talk
Yes.
about game changer.
Like, McMahon says he was fired. I don't get it.
How do you get fired if you win the conference?
There's got to be
championship?
some. There's got to be some. Like, I don't know what
Said
the something
Sunbelt.
more would be, but it's just wild, man.
Motorcycles, blondes. I don't know.
You know, he doesn't seem like a motorcycle guy to me.
Yeah, neither did Petrino.
Did you hear what he said about his NIL? It was some kind of
Biscuit thing.
yeah,
All you
biscuit.
could eat
You
biscuit.
have all you can eat biscuits if you come here.
Hey,
Yeah.
I may be in on that.
You know, there's this like big expectation that everybody's getting paid and everybody's. But that's really not the truth. I mean, like Lance Jackson's getting paid. You know what I mean? Javari Johnson's not getting paid. You know, so like it's not everybody like everybody's making it out to be. But you're top tier dudes.
They're going to get paid.
Yeah. Did y'all see what the Florida guy for me to stay here and play? You're gonna have to. It was
Yeah.
like $45,000 a month. You're gonna. I'm in
Guaranteed
rotation.
third planes,
Yeah,
third downs.
guaranteed third downs and something else. Like, which I mean, is that unreasonable? Is it unreasonable at this point?
Apparently, Billy Napier didn't think it was reasonable.
Well, somebody else may.
Well, you know, you get to a point where you figure out that you're not as valuable as you thought.
Well, here's what's funny, Billy. Josh Braun. Josh Braun was making $275,000. You know, the kid that come from Florida. He's back in the portal. He's not going to improve that. And here's the deal. He's not that good. He's not going to go start for another SEC team. He's not going to make more than that. And it's like this thing's really kind of gotten out of hand on that. So many kids are not improving themselves. Well, you want to move on down to the next subject? Hey, Donovan, cue the Nye Kissing Wimberley picture.
Oh, God. I did not approve whatever's about to pop up. He didn't send it.
This morning. Yeah.
He did say
Nye Kissing Wimberley's his name.
Oh, okay. I was like, what?
Wimberley can, yeah. Nye
Are they still
Kissing.
in it? Is
Look at this man right here.
Yeah.
That's an 18-year-old senior
I thought,
defensive tackle at Arkadelphia.
I mean, if I went into the tanning booth a little bit,
Y'all do got
Kinda from the
the
side.
same body type. It's the same beard and everything.
You might look like his forearm.
I got that little hangover.
And hey, Nye Kissing, he carried the ball last week against us.
Yeah.
Batesville Southside on the goal line, scored a couple touchdowns.
I thought Morgan had done some superimposing. Or
6'1", 300 pounds, 18 years old.
Yeah.
The Badgers will take on the Elkins Elks for the 4A state championship
He's gonna
this Saturday at noon.
He's going to roll in on a Harley and, God.
He's going to just abuse some of the Elkins kids because I promise you they do not have that bone structure.
Ugh. If I was building one, Trey Lavender would have looked like that.
I'm not sure he would.
If he was building it.
If I was building it, that's how I'd have built it.
Those don't look like off the shelf parts though.
God.
But, hey, shout
Yeah.
out to our Arkadelphia Badgers. They are the last team that we cover that is still alive in the playoff hunt, and we hope they win Saturday versus Elkins.
It looks like he's been on that vitamin S.
Where's he going to school at?
He's probably going to end up at OBU.
Whew.
He's going to wish he left home.
Hey, that right there, that's a kid that can go to OBU, spend a year or two, and then propel himself into the next level.
Shout out.
Shout out to Nye Kissing Wimberley. All right, let's go into a Texas High recap. But Billy, you want to lead us off here?
Man, it's been a little bit, so I can talk about it. But a tough ending to a really, really, really great season. A lot of dudes showed out all year long. A lot of dudes showed out in that game that we lost to PNG. I think I was asked several times over the last couple of weeks, do you think that we could have beat South Oak Cliff had we have beaten PNG? And I said, not as our team ended against PNG. We had, maybe 4 starters out at the end of that game, and there would have been no way that we could have touched. Now, would I have liked to have seen the game, Texas High versus SOC? Yeah, I would have loved to have seen it. Both teams at full strength. I think it would have been a really, really competitive game. Could we have beat them? I think from watching their team, they probably could beat us 7 out of 10 times. But all you need to win is that one to move on. But man, you go back and there's way too many players for me to just sit here and mention. But often, it was a really, really special year with a really, really special group. A lot of them coming back, and a lot of freaking 8th graders coming up. 1 or 2 may get a chance to start. They're that good.
As freshmen?
Huh?
As true freshmen?
As true freshmen. But looking back at this team, what a balanced team it was. Offensively, defensively, every facet of the game, special teams. It was just a really, really good year. You look back at one of the teams that we dominated early, Jason Witten's team, Liberty Christian. They win another state championship. Fayetteville had a good year, probably not as good a year as they thought they were going to have. Lost a couple of games, but we're going to get those teams again. And I was talking to Coach Stanford, and I said this team was built for road games early and everything. I think next year, we get more home games, and Fayetteville comes to us, Liberty Christian comes to us. That'll be fun. Having some more games early at Graham, But yeah, I thought it was just a really, really fun, good. Truth is, you got to be really, really good. You got to be really, really healthy. You got to be really, really lucky at the end of the year to make a run of 6 straight playoff games, and every now and then someone's going to beat you. And do I think that we were a 14-point favorite over PNG? No. I thought it was. I thought we were a better team. but their offensive line of theirs was really, really dominant. I thought we stopped them in the second half. Then for their last drive, we lose our interior, number 90, Duncan McGee, and man, without him, shoring up that middle, they drive down the field again and score. And we missed a couple of field goals. We blocked it bad. It just several things happened, but it is what it is. We had a great year, and man, I'd take that year every year. I want to win a state championship just like anybody else, but there's only one that wins it every year. So.
Where does next year's team match up comparable to this year's team?
I was asking Coach Stanford. He said we're going to be really, really, really similar. He said really similar to this team.
So does Reitner? Will Reitner step in and be the quarterback? Or?
I mean, I think that's what it looks like.
Who's the other options? I guess is what I'm.
Man, you got Eli Shelley. You got Thomas. You got one that's coming up from 8th grade. You got several options. It really depends on who's going to be the best to fill that spot. If Reitner's not. Reitner, as we call him, the Swiss Army knife. I mean, hell, he's punting. He's defensive back. It depends on where he's going to best help you in that offensive scheme. Like, just like this year. I mean, have him out at receiver if he's, but we're strong at receiver. You got Shavonte coming back. You got, you got tons of good talent. So, Coach Stanford said, hey, we're going to be in the same spot next year. You're looking down the line. You look at that 3rd and 4th round game, you're going to be probably facing, he said, but he doesn't think that P&G is going to be in that spot next year.
Yeah, those planning meetings have got to be fun for the coaching staff, because they do have so many players that they could, what if this person's quarterback? Who's going to play here? Now let's look at this. Now let's look at this scenario. So it's going to be another fun year for Texas High.
Absolutely.
Let's move on right down to LE, another city team that had a wonderful year, and I'm surprised Buddy didn't come to rep his team. But
I was going to ask Buddy, because LE's ranked top 10 in the state in basketball. I was going to ask him, if he plans on picking LE over Hooks this year, that same district in basketball.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
You forget about that because they don't do the
So
division.
we'll find out if he
Division
was actually a fan or not here real soon.
Yeah.
I think Buddy, he just knew he had to hitch his wagon to somebody, and he don't like Pleasant Grove. He really don't like Texas High, so it was LE by default.
Well, it became very clear early on in Sideline's history that he really just knew about Hooks, and that knowledge was kind of suspect.
I will not comment.
So, but man, LE did have a great season. Like, I don't think anybody foresaw the turnaround that we saw. I mean, Trip Basinger almost broke the city passing record. I mean, like as close as you can get.
Man.
So I'm going back and like redoing, kind of looking at it. It is super, super close to Rod Mouth's passing record, like within 100 yards. So
crazy. If
anything was missed, we got to go back and look at it. But just as a team, one thing I haven't seen so we've had this in 19, and this group in particular, this senior class for LE, like they haven't won anything. Like, they weren't district champs in middle school. They weren't district champs, in high school. And to see them come out, like, I guess the talent has always been there. They just, let's don't act like Tripp didn't make a difference. Tripp obviously made a huge difference. But they had the kids to win. And, they unfortunately ran up against a Malakoff team, which, in my opinion, like, is a clear state. I want to see who beats them in that division.
Nobody.
Yeah, like they are really, really good. And what's funny? I was coming back from that Longview game, and I'd never been to Malakoff, but I was hungry. It was like 10 o'clock at night. Stopped in. Let's go eat in Whataburger, stretch our legs. It was in Malakoff.
I've never been to Malakoff in my life.
Where is that?
South of Tyler, kind of southwest of Tyler, southwest of Tyler. And wearing my game day thing. And I had like 3 people eyeball me. Somebody finally said something. I'm like, all right. But luckily, I was about done eating, so I left right after that.
Yeah.
They started giving me the business, making fun of me. But I guess we do have some reach down there in Malakoff.
Yeah.
Story short. But, man, nothing bad to say. Ellie had a great season. I know everybody wanted them to, it looked like they could win a state championship the way they were playing. You know, now we can say the season's over. They ran into some really unfortunate luck with Tripp in his hand against Winsboro. A cold environment, you know, the next week. And, you know, you're always going to say, oh, your dude's 100%. He wasn't, you know. But I don't know that it would have mattered because, I mean, they could not – nobody was open down
They weren't stopping to run either.
Yeah, like like sometimes that just happens. Sometimes you just run into that team that can beat you, that's built to beat you. That team is just – that's the best team in the state. And, unfortunately – they had to play him.
I tried to go in and find as many stats as I could to make Malakoff not be Malakoff, and they proved me wrong big time. I mean, they're all that.
And you know, their fans get hard. You know,
who's their quarterback?
Mike Jones.
Who?
And you know, don't act like you know who Mike Jones is now. You know, like we're always going to pull for our local squads. We're going to make arguments for our local squads. But I mean, I really did think Liberty Ilo could play and beat them because the way Liberty Ilo plays, it's not normal for a high school team. But like Malakoff. They got everything covered, man. Like they're going to be your state champions, and there's nothing to hang your head down about losing to them.
And there are only 3 left in all division levels that are state champs from last year.
Yes, that's
good,
absolutely right.
Good. I'm ready to see some different names. Although I'm sitting here looking at, I went to 3A Division II, and you know we know football. We know these teams more than your average fan, but I think Woodville is going to win the state championship.
I want to tell you what. Saw Woodville in person. They're legit. Legit. I mean, they got 3 great running backs. They got a Division I quarterback. And, you know, they remind me a lot of Gunter or Tidehaven. Gunter and Tidehaven are both.
Well, Woodville's going to play Tidehaven this week.
Yes.
And then winner of Wall and Gunter are going to play next.
Tremendously, you know, Tidehaven and Gunter, it doesn't matter who they play. They're tremendously undersized. But they do the same thing. They're fundamental. They hit hard. They got speed, and that's what Woodville had, along with 3 good backs and a D1 quarterback. And I'm telling you, Dangerfield outsized them by 50 pounds on the D line and O line.
Wow!
And Woodville dominated the trenches. Chase Johnson ran for his life all night, and he also threw 3 bombs that were absolute dimes that the receivers dropped that changed the entire trajectory of that game.
You look at 4A Division II. Carthage is going to play Brock this week. That'll be a Friday game at McKinney, and there's going to be bad weather through DFW Friday night.
I would love to see
So they are
Brock
going to
win
play
that one.
in an environment which I don't think anybody can beat Carthage, but you know.
I will digress on that a little bit because I watched the PG. We'll get to PG in a minute, but Carthage has some chinks in the armor.
I will say that I can agree with that, but I don't know if anybody they're about to run up against is going to be able to do it because winner of this game plays Wimberley or Waco Levake.
Oh my God!
So
me sick.
Carthage or Brock, and is going to destroy either one of them.
Is Brock good?
Well,
Fundamental.
Brock has like
good football players.
They have like a weird.
They got a dude in the NFL right now.
They played Graham earlier this year, and Graham beat them like
38 to nothing.
Breaks off of them, and then they turn around and beat them in the playoffs,
12-10.
Like
Remind you of that PG Gilmer type deal.
It's crazy how you can get beat like that and then turn around and win somehow. But and then in 4A Division I, Coach Fuller's still in it, man. He's playing Lavernia. I'm assuming they're out of Houston because they're playing somewhere around Houston. Yeah. They're playing Randall Reed. So Kilgore Lavernia will play the winner of Salina and Canyon West. And then as you go up, it's like the same names we know. South Oak Cliff, Argyle. We'll play the winner of Bernie or Richmond. I'm trying to think how I know Richmond.
Dennis Gerber
Richmond's down at Houston.
Said 2 or 3 LE losses are going to be the state champs.
Okay, yeah. Highland Park didn't run. I don't know why I said Argyle. Yeah, Highland Park didn't run. I'm probably going to go watch that. And then Smithson Valley, they'll play the winner of Smithson Valley and Angleton, and then Duncanville, North Crowley. National game of the week. Longview Lobos, South Lake Carroll. And you got Austin West Lakes playing Galena, North Park. And then Longview or South Lake Carroll play either Austin Vandergrift or Humble Summer, which, by the way, did you see they had 4 of the 8 teams left in state were all from Humble?
That's crazy.
Wow.
Like, how is that possible?
Wow.
Lots of talent.
But we're probably going to
Lots of
see
kids.
another North Duncanville. I mean, North Crowley could win, but we're probably going to see another Duncanville North Shore rematch,
You know,
which
they just keep
has
churning
always
out
been great
players.
games. And I want my argument with the state championship week is it's terrible football till Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
It just is. But
Well, let's move right there down to Pleasant Grove, our last high school.
shout out Liberty ILO,
Mm-hmm.
Way to go,
season.
Leopards!
last team standing.
Absolutely, nothing to be ashamed of there. Well, let's move to PGJ. You know, we kind of had our opportunities against Carthage. You know, they just came out to be a little bit better again this year.
Yeah, defensively, I don't know how Pleasant Grove could have done anything different. That defense has been the best I've seen in a long, stretch of good Pleasant Grove Hawk defenses, and just didn't have the offensive answers to put points on the board. And so, and I know, from a Hawk fan, it's definitely frustrating, and I know from the player standpoint, that's got to be frustrating. And the coaches, put the plays out there to try to make it happen. I mean, Pleasant Grove just really didn't put the points on the board.
And something that the only thing you could say the defense could have done better is Jet Surratt threw us the ball 3 times. We caught 1 and we dropped 2. We catch those balls. Who knows? We don't. The fumble from KJ Edwards. Absolutely, they made the right call, but that call's not made 10% of the time.
Sure.
That changes the game. But we were never in sync offensively, and honestly, I thought the offensive line played one of their better games of the year.
I just think PG probably had to play not just a complete game, but a mistake-free game to beat Carthage this year. What do you think? Or do you think it was closer than that?
I feel like I feel like we should have ran behind that offensive line a little bit more, and kind of shortened that game. But the Stars really did have to align. As a PG fan, PG parent, I want to believe we could win, and I believe we could. But
You're freaking in it going in the second half.
Yeah, they're just we made a couple mistakes, and they made a couple plays. It was not a 28-point game. I can tell you that.
From a different perspective than like he would have, as just a huge fan. Not that I'm not a fan, but like just we had too many guys going both ways where they didn't. Mm-hmm. And as we've seen the last few times we played them, it matters late. Mm-hmm. And when it got 14-0, and then you have a couple. I think that was a 14-0 ball game that ended up 28. Yeah. It just kind of got to. They were breaking stuff you just don't break if you're a guy. A fullback right up the gut for 40 yards or whatever.
Twice.
Yeah, that really just doesn't happen if you're fresh. It's not supposed to happen.
It doesn't happen on PGs.
And
Yes.
the defense played their guts out, but those last 2 touchdowns, you can't really hold it against them. And one of them, I don't know what happened on they did a pooch kick. It's 14-0. We're still in the game, and something weird happens.
Just doesn't field the ball.
Something weird happens. They get a short field. 2 plays later, Benny Smith's in the end zone.
Yeah, and it's
and
over.
I do want to point out something about Benny Smith too. Benny Smith, as a freshman in 22, ran for 1,500 yards at Shelbyville, and he miraculously got relocated to Carthage.
Good move.
It's just crazy, the jobs down there, the best candidates always have a stud football player to go along with them. Just want to point that out.
Well,
They have a strong SHRM
Petrochem
area
just
there for HR.
listen. At this point, UIL
Good spin.
is the only thing they're gonna come in and crack down on is evidently basketball players. So
the only time
they're just not going to do it with football. It looks like
the only time
it's
they've got their hand slapped down there was in January of 2023. Aaron Hampton, a kid from Van, and a kid from Pine Tree all enrolled in January of 2023 at Carthage. Aaron Hampton's now with the University of Alabama Crimson Tide. They were there about 8 days. A certain coach threw a fit, denied it, got with the other coaches. All 3 kids went back to their respective schools.
Well, you're leaving an important part of that out. is Dave Campbell's came out with that article, Rich Get Richer, and all of a sudden it was on a statewide platform.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, your people that let's don't act like it doesn't happen everywhere. You know, that's winning. Let's don't act like, you know, that's not happening everywhere that's winning. But, you know, in that particular instance, it was kind of eyebrow raising. And then for the fact that they all went back, not one of them stayed, is almost like, wow. You know, hand kind of got caught in the cookie jar. But hey, there's a price to be paid to be a winner in the state of Texas. Like I've always said, you don't like. There's too much talent in the state of Texas to tell me that coaching wins you X amount of state championships. Like you gotta have the dudes. You gotta have the dudes.
Well,
and evidently, there's just some NFL pedigree DNA walking around Carthage, Texas.
Well, what Carthage?
And they are well coached. Don't get me wrong; they are well coached.
Absolutely.
And I hope they win the state championship this year.
Be number
But
10.
man, it's like it's one of them. That's hard to.
One for both pinkies.
Yeah, I mean, which would be special for him. I mean, his son will be the quarterback.
Absolutely.
It'll be the biggest story in probably in Texas high school football history. You know, and shout out for them. They just, you know, they got PG's number.
Well, in Carthage's defense, not a Carthage fan, but what they're doing is the same thing SOC's doing, the same thing DeSoto's doing, the same thing Duncanville's doing, the same thing North Shore's doing. But it's under a microscope over here because they're the only ones doing it at this level. And they've got a built-in advantage because they are geographically 25, 30 miles from anywhere. If we had a coach come in here and try to do it here, you couldn't do it because we've got 12 schools within 15 minutes. But Carthage genuinely can relocate you, and there's plausible deniability, and there's big money behind it.
But we're not accusing Carthage of anything.
This is for entertainment purposes
Yeah,
only.
like, and if anybody is, it's Ben. But you know,
Hey, well-oiled machine. You know,
like, hey, listen. Great, they're going to go down a historic football program in the state of Texas. I just went to the Texas Sports Hall of Fame in Baylor before the Longview game. They got Carthage stuff in there already. You know, so which by the way, I didn't realize they put if you win a state championship, the reigning state champions, their jerseys go up in there.
oh wow, I did not know
You
that.
know,
In where?
in the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. It's,
Oh, that's
it's
cool.
on Baylor's campus. I would go check it out if y'all are. What was it called before the SEC? That Arkansas and Texas were all in the same conference.
Southwest Conference.
Yeah, they have a huge exhibit
How
for
you
South.
gonna ask that being from Longview, Texas?
Well, from Southwest Conference or whatever.
The
They have
best
like
conference
they
ever.
they have the old mascots, like all this memorabilia. If my son's like going through like, ooh, look at this, look
Yeah.
at that, like it's amazing.
Huh.
It's awesome.
Some of my best memories are Southwest Conference football games. And, you know, watching it on HSE, you remember Home Sports Entertainment?
Yeah, I remember that, but I don't remember.
You remember
watching-
Raycom?
Yeah, I remember Raycom.
Oh, my God. I mean,
Yeah.
some of my best memories
Yeah.
are watching that on
Yeah.
satellite dish
Yeah.
and local news.
Yeah.
And
Well, you may
it
get
was-
one. You
it-
may
it
get
was-
one SWC game
Yes.
a week or something.
It was
you know?
magical.
Yeah.
And, hey, before we get into the Texas-Georgia game, let's talk about the SMU Mustangs, the best team in the state of Texas.
I know
Dallas
you're
Fort
trying
Worth.
to just- yeah,
Kevin
you
Jennings
don't
is-
Dallas
actually
Kevin
Fort Worth.
Jennings
Yeah.
is the best quarterback in the state of Texas.
No, the best quarterback in Texas doesn't even start.
Well, that shows you that.
He makes the most money.
I'm
though.
hoping he will.
Yeah.
Hey,
Why in
but
the
here's the
world?
deal: Sarkeesian's never going to start him as long as Quinn's there because he's scared of his dad. Tell me I'm wrong, Morgan.
Well, listen, there's a conversation that has to be had. Like if we're going to act like, hey, these college players are adults, the portal closes on the 29th.
all.
Let's play out a real scenario here, okay? Quinn Ewers is not an NFL quarterback.
I
Not right
agree.
now. I don't know
I
why
agree.
they're still saying,
agree.
oh, he's got a future in the NFL. It's like they're trying to gaslight him for some
loves
reason.
it.
And
All right, so
honestly,
let me get through this. All right, so I don't believe he's, and I'm not saying he's never going to be, but right now he's not going to get drafted.
He'd be a hell of a backup quarterback for you, though.
I wonder what he's making at Texas. Okay. Somebody's got to sit down with him, and he might enter the portal before the season's over with. Because at some point you have to sit down with him and be like, look,
you ain't gonna play.
what are your plans? Oh, well, I'm making $2 million a year, whatever he's making. I'm the man down here. I'm going to come back. Well, if you come back, you're going to be the backup. And it's a hard conversation to have because you're in the college football playoffs. And I don't know why the portal would close before the college football playoffs is over. All right? And so somebody's got to have this conversation. Like, if you're going to be a man about it, which I think Sarkisian is – let's say this. If you're going to be honest about it, somebody has to sit down with him and be like, look, like, your reign here's over. You're either going to the NFL. If you're going to the NFL, great. Oh, man, happy for you. If you want to return to play football, you're backing up Arch next year because they cannot lose Arch Manning.
So you say get in the portal and go somewhere, but here's my deal on him, is Texas is loaded everywhere, right? So, and not that you and I could, but a lot of quarterbacks could go to Texas and look like him. But you put him on Arkansas's team, he may not win the 6 games that Taylor Green won.
Yeah. I'm with you, Billy. I'm not sold. I'm sitting there saying I don't think he's the dude. With everything Texas has, and they ain't played just a juggernaut of opponents, and he hadn't really nothing stands off.
No.
Like, I get why he's starting, but it ends this year.
All you got to do is manage that game as a Texas quarterback. They would have beat a game manager would have beat Georgia in the last game.
If I was
a game manager,
if I was a diehard Texas fan like I am Arkansas, my disappointment and disgust would be at an ultimate level because it's like we've got something magical here, and for whatever nonsense, we're being held back because the deal is with yours, like you said, you go put him where he don't got dudes around him. He don't take people to a bowl game.
Yeah, and even him, they may win the national championship with him, but
it
I think
ain't
they're a
because
lot
of
better
him.
team with someone else.
And that was I made some posts during the Texas game against Georgia, and I put on there that Arch, we want Arch, and had some comments, from some friends on, Urs, whatever. I'm like they have the best chance to win with Arch.
Yeah, like
I'm not
100%.
saying we can't win.
Ewers isn't doing anything wrong per se. He's just not going to win the football game.
That's right.
All right? Like, if Arch is going to do the same thing, I'd rather have Arch.
But I think, man, his arm.
The way he throws the ball, it's like he's almost showboating. It's weird and
I stood
counterproductive.
when Ewers in cleats. I could not believe. I don't know why.
He's not big.
He's not big at all. Like, I thought, like, he's just like a skinny dude that plays football. Like, he looks like he might be the kicker.
How he got rated that high is beyond me. Other than he played at a great program.
Did I ever tell y'all the story about me and Quinn Ewers playing golf?
Yes, you did.
All right.
But if they hadn't heard it, we need to hear it again.
I mean, what's that town up in Missouri everybody goes
Branson.
to? Branson. I'm in Branson, Missouri. My buddy John Kelly. We get on this golf course. John's pretty good at golf. Yeah. Okay, we get paired with some guys from South Lake. And
lo and behold.
And they were so bad at golf on the second hole. John was like, I'm not doing this. Because it was like $200 a round or something. And John's like, I'm not doing this. And I'm like, all right, man, well, just walk back to the clubhouse. He was like going to ask for his money. They were so bad. He was like, no, I can't do this all day.
Yeah, it's cool.
Hey, I played like 5 holes before I was like, God, they're terrible. And, I'm not even that good. And I was like, God, I can't do this either. I got to go, hey, it's my job to kind of know.
Yeah.
And he was the number 1 player in the country at the time. I played five holes of golf with Quinn Ewers and his dad. I had no idea it was Quinn Ewers.
Yeah,
Did he have the mullet at the time, or was it bleached?
It was bleached, and I mean he looked like a South Lake kid, and nothing about him. I would have never ever guessed this dude was the best,
like an athlete.
the number one. Exactly my point. I'll tell you what, he cannot play golf, or he couldn't then anyway.
Usually quarterbacks are good golfers.
He wasn't.
Got that hand-eye coordination,
dude. If I want to quit because I'm stuck playing with you, you got to be bad. Anyway, I got somewhere I got to be.
All right, hey Morgan, Jay, Billy, who goes further, the Ponies or the Longhorns?
Longhorns.
Yeah, I think
Billy, come on, man.
I just.
You have a picture of Ben in his
Ben
college days? Oh man, look
I
at
didn't
him!
know he was an Aggie.
Dang, Arkansas yell leader. Look at him! Look at the boots, dude. Tucked in.
That was
That
never
is you.
supposed to make the light of day.
Man,
that's
so weird. That
that's
looks
a
like
quality
LA
history.
Stadium too.
That's quality
Wait,
history.
hold on. Look at those guns. I mean, that guy.
you do got
He
some
looks like
muscle.
Ed Hockley.
Yeah. Man, you should have born in Aggie, but just ended up at Arkansas.
I am kind of cut up, I got to admit that.
Woo Pig Suey.